Hello, everybody. Welcome. Nuts and bolts time. How are you going, Natty?
It is nuts and bolts time. Hello, it's good to see you. Sorry, I forgot I had stream still up, so I heard you twice, and I was like, wait, what?
So yes, all the good fun that we're having.
There's still a bit of echo.
Is there? Ooh.
Yeah.
Echo. Hang on, let's try that. How about now? Is the echo still there?
Under my umbrella, Ella, I could sing only songs that have echoes built into them, so then we'll never know.
Drifting in my capella, yeah. Cool. All right, well, let's get started anyway, because we've got a little bit to talk about here. And straight up, we're going to jump into some World of Tanks stuff, because it's exciting times in World of Tanks. The ANZB League has already had its first 2 rounds of finals, and now the ANZPL is moving into their finals as well.
That is super exciting. Sorry, Menthy's still saying I'm the echo queen.
So I'm not getting an echo on this end. Maybe it's Menthy. Maybe his ears are in stereo.
Raven, are you still there? Can you confirm it is not a Menthy issue, or is a Menthy issue? He was listening to the last cast. So.
No, it's not Menthy. Okay,
yeah.
I'm not sure what it is, because I'm Discord audio. There we go, the Discord. What's going on in Discordy? That's all right there. Can't see anything there. I'm not sure where the echo's coming from. We might have to persevere for the moment, and we will have a look after the post show and make sure that we're not got wrong settings there. Yeah, we'll blame Pete. Pete's already left, so he's obviously broken something. Tech issues. No.
I just need to be there in Perth. That's the problem.
That's it. Well, I reckon it was him turning into Mario as he walked off in the weekly show before. I don't know. There's a clip that got taken where, because we were showing some video of Mario and Pete had to duck off to the side, and as he ducked off, the little Mario figure came across. So it looked like he turned into Mario as he walked out of frame. It was pretty bloody cool. I thought so. We're having a good laugh about it. But yes, World of Tanks. So the ANZPL had its last regular round finish of the first double round robin there. So you can see here, South Sydney Scorpions took the Christchurch Conquerors 3-1 there, which was interesting because the Christchurch Conquerors had quite a strong start to the season. But they dropped off a little bit there. I'm not sure whether just some of their tactics people found a counter to, or what was going on there. But that win secured Scorpions the top spot, so they're going to finish first for this season. Conquerors, the next game between the Bulldogs and the Action X was the battle for last place. So this is the one that they were trying to avoid finishing last. So unfortunately, with the way things were, because Conquerors didn't get a point from the last game. So when I say point, I mean like a point for a tiebreaker loss and stuff like that. There was no way that Action X could make it to the finals. So it was just a case here of trying to avoid that wooden spoon, because if Brisbane won, then Adelaide could drop down, but Adelaide came through with the goods and beat Brisbane Bulldogs 3-1 there. So don't make finals, but don't finish last. So that's a positive there. Then, of course, we had the North Sydney Sentinel versus the Perth Panthers. Sentinels just hit their strides again, and they're an incredible team when they get going. So they had a 4-0 win over the Panthers. But at that point, those positions were locked in. The only thing that could possibly change is where they were going to be on the ladder. And if we have a look now, first Scorpions, second Sentinels, third Panthers, and fourth Conquerors. So that's going to be our makeup for the final. So you'll notice as well that third, fourth, and fifth all finished on 14 points. So when that happens, they do this head-to-head thing. So if Conquerors got 1 point, it would have put them above Panthers. And in the head-to-head, Action X beat Panthers. And so Panthers would have missed out on the finals and Action X got in. But because they all finished on 14 points, the way it came out in the wash was that Action X finished down in 5th there. So it's an
absolute rip-off, Jim, I tell you. Absolute rip-off. You and me, our teams, both got 3 outright wins. It should be us up there.
That's what I think as well. It would just ignore for the Panthers that they had 4 losses as well. Yeah. If we could turn more of those losses into tiebreaker wins or tiebreaker losses, who knows? And same with the Action X. Like it's easy to look back at the last round and go, this is, we could have made it if this happened, but Action X have 3 tiebreaker losses there as well. And even Brisbane Bulldogs have 3 tiebreaker losses. So if they could have turned that into a tiebreaker win, or if they could have turned their tiebreaker wins into maybe actual wins, there could have been a different story for the season. But this is what we've got now. So the next week, hang on, where's me next week? There. So we're going to see.
The button.
That's it. Press the button. Got to find the right button first. So they changed the format slightly. Last year it was 1 plays 2 and 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3, and the winner goes straight into the grand final. So this year they decided, quite rightly so, that first and second deserve a second chance because they played so well through the regular season. So they do. First plays second. The winner goes into the grand final. The loser gets a second chance next week. And then third plays 4th, and the loser of that goes out the back door. And the winner of that plays the loser from the 1v2 game. So it's I think that honours how people have performed during the season. It's just a better format, I think. So it'll be good to see. And it also means that you don't have that third place game because just naturally there's a third place team.
Yeah, that does sound like a good way to do it. So you're saying that this has been updated from last season?
Yes, yeah. So the first 3 seasons of the ANZPL were the 1 versus 4th and 2nd versus 3rd, because that's how the Panthers got into the final. They snuck into 4th, beat North Sydney Sentinels, who finished the season first, and got into a grand final that way. So this way it rewards the teams that finish higher and gives them that second chance.
Excellent, as it should be.
That's it. And of course, we've got our fantasy league as well. So you can see the teams that won quite rightly dominated the fantasy league there. Russian and Aussie from the Scorpions, sorry. And the return from Sentinels, as well as Val and Eugene from Action X making an appearance there. Eugene in particular, quite good value at the 2 stars there. So that's good on them for making the last regular season. Now, I do believe fantasy continues on for the finals, so don't put your fantasy hat away just yet. You can continue on and do that one there.
How are you going with your rivalry?
World of Tanks is winning this one. Yeah. I think I was like 42nd or something in the end, and Jay was miles above me there.
Wow.
But of course, we've also got the B League happening as well at the moment, and they're in their second week of finals. They had their second week on Monday night. It was really an amazing game. Like it went the full. Like this is the best of 7 series and finals. It went the full 7 games. It was just ridiculous to watch, and in the end, Bundaberg Badgers, the new team on the block, make it into the grand final by defeating the Centurions there.
That would have been an absolute endeavour getting through all those games back to back as well.
Oh, it really was. Luckily, some of them ended up going pretty quick. So, but I mean, on a normal night, you're normally playing 3 games anyway with the best of 4. So, when you've only got 1 game that's 7 matches, it's not so bad. So it was sight to hold, and of course, everybody in Twitch chat was happy because they get to hang around a little bit later and get all their drops.
Awesome. And, the Badgers won, which is who I was rooting for. So
it was funny because in the last game, one of the Badgers players, because all the teams are named after tanks. So like there's an Action X tank, there's a Centurions tank, there's a Sentinels tank. There is also a Badger tank that the Badgers brought out in the last round just to
amazing.
just to be on meta there.
On brand. Yeah.
So that was pretty cool to see there. And of course
Menthonzo is going strong with his I don't even know if you call them puns. He's calling the Centurions the Centurions.
No, that's a Monty Python quote.
No way. Yeah, I need to get back one of my Monty Python fan cards.
Strike him swifty. I have a friend, you know. Because sorry, no, I'm getting carried away now.
Yeah, what was it from?
The Life of Brian.
Life of Brian, okay.
So it was all full of Romans and
If it was the meaning of life, I would have been like, no, that's it. I can never call myself a Monty Python fan.
But of course, this all leads with the ANZBL, and apart from Centurions and striking him swiftly, we moves to the grand final for the ANZB League. So we see my marvellous table makes another return. This week, with the question mark filled in, the Bundaberg Badgers will be taking on the Cairns Comets in the grand final of the ANZPL.
Yes, go Bundaberg!
Going to be amazing. Now, there is a change here though, because rather than being played on the Monday night, it's going to be played on the Friday the 10th as a lead-in game to the ANZPL finals.
Oh, that's very awesome.
It is. It's going to be amazing to be able to see that play out on the big stage right before the ANZPL finals kick off there. So you'll have the first round this week, which will be between the Scorpions and the Sentinels, then the Panthers and the Conquerors, and then so the consolidation final they're calling it. So the winner of the lower bracket and the loser of the upper bracket will play in the consolidation final, and the ANZB League will get their shot right before that. So we'll be able to see the Cairns Comets and the Bundaberg Badgers right there, twitch.tv/World of Tanks ANZ. Amazing stuff. I cannot wait to see it.
It'll be a big night.
You know what else I can't wait to see? It's going to be the grand final for the ANZPL. It's going to be amazing because, again, they've partnered with Fortress Melbourne and the final's going to be there. And yesterday I made a decision. I'm going to be there at their land final. And I booked my flights, booked my accommodation. Now all I got to do is hope that nothing happens to get the event cancelled.
No, fingers crossed. I'm sure it will all go ahead. Things have been going ahead at Fortress Melbourne. They haven't had any halts or cancellations or anything recently. So I'll have all my fingers crossed for you.
Me too. It'll be my first LAN event. I'm like super pumped to be at my first LAN event there. It's going to be so amazing.
That'll be very, very cool. I'm glad you're making it over. You'll be our man on the ground, giving us updates.
That's very much it. I'll take like a blazer or something and pretend to be BT, going around talking to people and just making an ass of myself, which I'm good at. I'm really good at making an ass of myself. I've done it a few times now. But yes, that grand final at Fortress Melbourne will be on the 25th of June. So only a couple of weeks away, and they will put tickets. They generally don't sell them, but it's a ticketed event, so it's free. You just got to go claim your ticket. They're not up just yet, but as soon as they are, I'll let you know, because after I've gotten mine, of course. Then everybody else can
absolutely
know. That's it.
First in, best rest.
Yeah. But yeah, lots of other esports stuff going on at the moment too. MSI's just wrapped up.
It has, and it was a big weekend, lots of games happening. I'm just trying to think of when we had our last update, because I think we were leading into the semi-finals, maybe.
I think because I remember some talk about, because G2 and Evil Geniuses were playing off in the semi-finals, and we were going, oh, that makes us feel better because they've gone so deep, and Order just tried their best, but they had to play those two in the group, so yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately for us, neither of those teams made it through to the finals. So we had the team from China that was playing away over the ocean, and we had T1 playing against each other for the finals. And this little scene that Straight's got up here kind of gives away who the winners were. Sorry, my goodness, I'm stumbling over my words today, and I just think I needed a bit more coffee this day, but that's okay.
It's too late for coffee. You'll be buzzing all night.
That's right. That is the problem with having it late. So RNG did take it out. They ended up winning after 5 games, so it was a competitive back and forth between the two teams. But it was quite unusual because we had RNG in China and we had T1 over playing in the actual stadium. And I don't know, for those of you who are familiar, one of the best esports journalists in Australia is Ducky, and he was over in Busan where they were holding the event live, and he just said there was just no atmosphere in the finals because the winners weren't there to accept their prize. People started filing out even before the final match had ended. You know, when your team's losing in the last quarter of footy and you're like, do we just go get to our car a bit early?
Yeah, I'm an Eagles fan.
That kind of energy, unfortunately, which is really sad for MSI. Normally it's, a major cornerstone event for the League of Legends esports, and it was really deflated by not having both teams there.
Yeah, it is sad, and I'm glad they found a way for RNG to compete, but yeah, with them not being there with everybody else, it does take something away from the event.
Yeah, it really does. But it was, a competitive night. There was lots of really interesting things happening. For the stats, folks at home, blue side won every game. So
Really?
the teams will swap sides every game. They'll either be playing red or blue, and blue won every match.
That's not something you normally see.
Sorry?
That's not something you normally see. Like, normally red side kind of dominates there a bit.
Yeah, look, I cannot say I know enough about that, but it was certainly something that was interesting enough for a lot of people to be commenting on. A lot of people saying, blue side, it's the winning side, but we did see leading in with the semi-finals that the two teams that lost both got clean swept 3-0. So clearly the side can't be the only factor of whether you win or lose.
No.
Otherwise we would have had different outcomes there.
I think as well what side you go dictates where if you start in draft as well. So it might, because I think if you go red side, there's some advantage. And once again, I'm a league noob, so I don't know this for sure. But I think if you go red side, your opponent chooses the bans and one pick first, I think. So it's I think you get a bit of an advantage in draft if you go blue, but that's rather substantial.
Yeah, Tam was in chat confirming that for us. Thank you. So yeah, I don't have a lot more to say about it other than I was a little bit disappointed because I was following along with T1. I was hoping that Faker and his team were going to take it out, and unfortunately that wasn't to be. But it will be interesting to see with these two teams how they go at Worlds. If they both end up in the finals again, I think I would love to see this rematch where they're both in the same place and there's no issues potentially about latency and any other, points of contention that could be raised.
I think I heard as well, like, I must admit, I kind of snoozed on it and I was away this weekend, but I knew the semi-finals were Friday and Saturday, and I thought, they haven't told us when the grand final's going to be, and I was at home, got home and was just snoozing, doing something on the computer, and I saw something on Twitter that went, the finals happened. It might have been you put a message while this is going in Discord, this is going to 5 games, and didn't even know I was on. Like, in fairness, I had just gotten back from a little bit of a camping trip, so it's,
I'm very thankful I've got the hubby to remind me of these things because I tend to be a little bit forgetful. Yeah, remember it when they've gotten to Game 5 or the last day of the tournament. Like, no, that's happening today.
But and I did hear a bit that they were, because I think Faker was a big thing. Like you cannot take a player like him lightly, and I was hearing that RNG were able to isolate him and get some pretty good kills onto him and then force team fights that the T1 just didn't want to take.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely strategies in the later games seem to be RNG picking off a couple of characters and then forcing players and then forcing the team fight. So we really did see there that if they lost Faker, they couldn't pull back. But you're always going to be a disadvantage if you're a player down, and it was just RNG's better strategy there and good picks that managed to earn them that. So
it does bring the point. It does kind of raise the point that, like, losing a player is always going to hurt you in team fights, but and this also may come from a place of ignorance, but if your whole game plan is so dependent on one player, should you maybe look at spreading the load more?
Yeah. I mean, the kind of the way the game is, you do have your carry. You do have your characters that you are feeding the experience to, and normally most sides will have one or two of those kinds of players, and they were the ones that were being isolated. I don't. It's part of the fundamental inbuilt, laning and experience building that you would send experience to those. One thing that my hubby was talking about and he's mentioning in chat now is just the moment the meta is a little bit like that, you build your glass cannon up, you feed them all the experience, and then they'll dive on the enemy team just to, do a quick, CC style attack or whatever to isolate or to knock out a couple of characters. And that initiation is really common and popular at the moment. So what they're looking at is updating the meta a little bit, making things a little bit less, characters more durable through a few different mechanisms. So it'll be interesting to see how it all goes.
Fingers crossed, like this change of meta. Like, I like seeing team fights because that's a lot of action there, but I also feel that, like, having a whole meta based around that, like, I don't think it's as interesting. I think if you're got individual battles going on, those can be more interesting than a whole group battle. And I think mainly that's sort of because, like, I kind of liken it to like when I was a kid watching cricket, and I really liked one days because it was big and flashy and stuff going on. But as I got older as an adult, I liked the test matches more because you sit there, you could see the build up and saw the endurance of it. And I feel like if next patch that Riot puts out, if they can swing things so that it's more about not so much individual fights, but maybe laning a bit more, like that would be a bit more interesting for the longevity of the game.
I'm totally going to steal what Turnwise saying in chat just because he's putting it a bit more eloquently than me. So there'll still be a bit of a team fight focus, but it'll just be giving teams a chance to counterplay. So if you do get dived, you won't automatically lose one or two players and then just be doomed.
Well, that's it. Like, how exciting was the Chiefs versus Pentanet playoff game in LCO earlier this year? Like, this, for those that didn't watch it, there were two games in a row. I think the first game, Pentanet had cracked open Chiefs base. They were putting hurt on the Nexus, and Chiefs flipped it and won that match. And then the next match, Pentanet did the same thing. Their base was cracked open and they flipped it and took Chiefs base. Yeah, and to the point where I think in both games, both Nexuses got down to 700 HP. Yeah. And that was just such an exciting game. And talking to the players afterwards, like I dropped into Rogue, who's a player for Pentanet. I dropped into his stream a couple of days afterwards, and he said, "I don't care that we lost. That was some of the most fun League of Legends he's ever played."
Oh, that's cool. That's what you like to see, especially in the grand final where the players are enjoying themselves.
Well, unfortunately, that wasn't a grand final. I think that was the second week of second
it
round.
was too.
Yeah, because the Chiefs finished top and they got the week off, and then Pentanet and Peace played. Pentanet beat them, and then the next night they played Chiefs. Yeah, because that's when Order came through and clean swept everybody. Like, didn't lose a game. I think it wasn't until the Chiefs Grand Final game that they dropped a match.
Your memory is amazing for these things. Can I please tell you that?
Only because I watched every game, and I was just, especially I was a little bit heartbroken that we weren't going to see another Pentanet Chiefs fight, because that match was just so entertaining. It was so engaging. But yeah, having Order come through, even though like they had a hard time. Like, I remember starting MSI saying, "Oh look, Pentanet last year they had 3 in their group and they got out of group stages into Rumble." But when you look at the quality of opposition Order had to play in that group stage, even though there was only 3 of them, it was Evil Geniuses and G2 who both made it to semis. So Order will come back. They'll have that experience. I did think I see Kevy signed, who I think was Order's jungler, but he's signed with an international mob at the moment as well. So he'll be playing for them. He won't be coming back to the LCO. But yeah, it was... But that's what you get. Like I think of all the Pentanet guys that went over to MSI last year, there's only 2 still playing in the LCO, and Biopanthers playing for Order, who just went over to MSI again. So it's and the other one's Praetor still playing for Pentanet.
Yeah, that's right.
So the experience that these guys will get going over there, even as a minor region, it's invaluable.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
But moving on to another, this one was an interesting one that I found. So something popped up on my Twitter feed. It was a clip of Shaq, and I forget the gentleman's name who's talking to him. Jake Lucky is the gentleman that was talking to Shaq. So I'm just going to play this, and so people can watch it for themselves.
Consider pro esports players to also be athletes?
I do, and I want to commend you guys, and I'm proud of you guys. Athlete means different thing, but athlete means here. Like, I did a show, it was called Shaq Versus. When I went to a race with Dale Earnhardt, that was the hardest shit I've ever done in my life. I'm sitting in the car, and we were out there, bro, my body was so sore, I was like, God damn. When I went to swim against Michael Phelps, 15% of the game is physical and all that. Everything else is mental. So the things that you guys go through. That's why you guys don't really have a long life show. I think it's 3 to 5 to 6 years. Same thing with NBA, NFL. So yes, you guys are athletes. If you guys say you're athletes, I believe you, because I can't do what you do.
Would you consider?
Yeah. So basically, what he was saying there is that so much of being an athlete is mental, and you have to be focused on the game. And he was comparing it to when he did a TV show where he drove a NASCAR and raced against someone. And the concentration you have to have in there and the focus is just as much as what he had in the NBA. And same with being an esports player. You have to have that focus. You have to have that dedication to training, to learning, to getting better. It may be presented in different ways than a traditional athlete, but it's definitely... Shaq is calling them athletes, and I agree.
It's been interesting having this discussion with people over the last few years, because you'll chat to somebody like Menthonzo who will just troll me on purpose. But other people, they get really involved in this. They are quite protective of the word athlete, because they feel like it should apply to these more physical endeavors compared to what they see esports to be.
Look,
in my chat with Jess from the... Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Straight words are just failing me today. Yes, who's one of the commentators and used to be a pro player for Siege, Rainbow Six Siege. She was very adamant that they weren't athletes in the traditional context, but she would call them mental athletes.
Yeah,
which was an interesting distinction for me, because I think you and I, both being casual, people that play sports casually, don't know if we would call each other athletes, and that might be more of the distinction there.
And look, if they can call darts a sport, then esports is a sport.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think the argument that esports competitors in athletes is what we're going to call them, don't that the sport doesn't have a physical component to it is, you know, completely ignoring the fact that these guys are retiring because they've got shoulder injuries or neck injuries or elbow injuries, let alone everything else that they have to do to keep their bodies in peak performance. Like, these guys wouldn't be retiring with injuries if there wasn't a decent physical component to what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. And it's I kind of look at it in terms of effort they're putting in as well. Like these guys, the big orgs, they live in the same house. They play and train together. They analyze games. They've got staff there to help. And like, yeah, to me, these guys are athletes. But there's always going to be a different interpretation of things there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I'm open to the debate as well. I just don't think we have the right term for it if people feel that athlete applies purely to somebody running around a track or somebody swimming in a pool. They need to be the one to suggest a better option.
Yeah, that's it. And last thing we got here to talk about tonight, there was a report that was released about spending in esports and what that's projected to hit. Now, I know you were right across this. You had a good read, and you're giving me some good information there about things like how the audience has grown. I think you put something in our Twitch chat. The audience has grown like 8.7% from 2021, which is it's a large growth.
Yeah, I was really surprised. And one thing about that figure specifically, so they're expecting the audience to reach around 500 million viewers by the end of this year. And I found it really interesting the way they broke that figure down, because they actually looked at people who engaged with esports as a viewer more than once a month and less than once a month. So if somebody just tuned in for MSI and Worlds for League of Legends, they would be in the latter category, even if they were absolutely fanatic about League of Legends esports. They got put into the second category. So it's a weird way to divide it, because I don't think we'd ever see that with traditional sports, where they'd be like, our viewership for the AFL, well, we've got our casual fans that only watch their team play versus watching the whole season. We don't get those sorts of breakdowns. So I was already a little bit put off that they had that kind of separation in this report.
You say that, but they do have the breakdown of who watched that game, how many people went through the door at a particular game. They might not talk about it as much, but I know, like if you go to an AFL game, they'll at three-quarter time, they'll throw up on the screen, there's this many people here tonight, and the networks will have viewer figures of that. It's just that generally they're all thrown in together, and I think it's important for this report to make that distinction, because esports coverage is fractured. It is so fractured. Like, there's not a AF, and granted, it's easy for the AFL. It's one league, and the AFL is very controlling about what happens there. But in like League of Legends in Australia, for instance, we've got basically a community-run league that gets entry into a major tournament that Riot then runs. So Riot doesn't run this, and they may have little bits of involvement in what the LCO does. But it is important, I think, to make that distinction between people that will tune in for MSI and those that watch their local league, because that they are different, and I think that this report is right in doing that.
That distinction would have been useful, but they purely went for how many times they're engaged rather than what they were engaging in. So I would have loved to have had these people will tune in because their brother is playing in the local Rainbow Six Siege competition, but they won't tune into the national or the international events. Like, that's the kind of thing that's missing from these reports as well. They don't seem to have much visibility on what's happening in the grassroots, which the health of grassroots builds everything else up. So it's interesting. But I won't dwell on that too much because there's a few other stats here. So I did find it really interesting that they were saying that 1/3 of the worldwide esports revenue comes from China.
I'm not
So they're
surprised at that.
predicting by the end of the year that there'll be $1.38 billion revenue from the industry, and 1/3 of that is from China.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised at that at all. When you see what powerhouses they are in things like League of Legends, yeah, not surprised at all.
I don't know, man. This is the country that like doesn't let kids play on their computers every night of the week,
Yeah,
as
but
regulated by their government. Like I feel like their government does have some restrictions on how they can engage in esports, and I would have thought that that would have had some roll-on effects to their audience. Apparently, Turnwire in chat saying China's throwing money at esports, but what are they without their growing audience and interest in it and people engaging with it is my understanding. Like, I think they're limiting themselves.
yeah, there's definitely governmental impacts in China that impact that, but like the whole Asian market itself, it's like because mobile gaming is so big there, but not so big in other places of the world. And like they develop Wild Rift, especially for that. PUBG goes to mobile, Fortnite goes to mobile because it's just such a huge market where that sort of gaming happens. And when you've got how many billions of people there, like even when you put those limitations on children playing video games, you're still going to get the people that want to. I mean, China's team just won MSI, so and I don't know how many Chinese teams were there in MSI, how many go to Worlds, and that's just League of Legends. So it's a huge market with such a potential for growth.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And again, something that this report was missing from the information that we had access to was around the how big is the mobile market, because we all know from a lot of the other reports and information that comes out that mobile is huge. So that was a little bit of a shame that didn't come through with what we saw.
Were there any other interesting little thing, anything that stood out that might have been, unexpected?
Oh, look, I think this fascination with NFTs and
Oh my
esports is driving me up the wall. And there was information in this report that we didn't have access to because you have to pay extra money for it. But it's everything in the video gaming industry and everything in esports is now automatically tied in with NFTs. I was talking to somebody who went to an indie game conference overseas, and they said half of the talks there were about how to monetize with NFTs and how to engage your audience with NFTs. And I think that it's growing, but certainly not the big hoo-ha everybody's trying to make it to be. It feels a little bit like your mum your friends trying to get you into an MLM. It feels like these reporting agencies and stuff are doing the same
It just NFTs feel to me like the crypto bros went, people have worked out crypto that it's a heap of shit and that it's only as valuable as long as people think it's got value. And we're going to move on to something new, and we're going to convince people that this is really awesome and you should buy it. And then it's like Elon Musk going, Dogecoin, that's going to go off, and then selling all these Dogecoin after it skyrockets because he said that it's really good. It's just such an unregulated and piece of crap market. Like, and this is going to turn into an NFT rant because I really, really hate NFTs. Like,
that's right. The floor is yours, sir.
It's just stupid. Like, you can have this picture. It's going to be and only you're going to own that picture. Cool. So people can't right-click save anymore. I know they can do that, but you own it. Come on. Like, it's.
But the blockchain, straight.
Yeah, sure. Let's do this where all those blockchain stuff where you got to mine it and use all these graphics cards that are so hard to get, and then like the environment. That's not even touching on the environmental impacts of having to use all these graphics cards to mine blockchain crap, and it's just
Yeah. Look, the environmental impact thing is interesting. There is a argument with that basically says if you were doing anything else currently in the finance economic sector around investing, you would be using a reasonable amount of electricity and similar resources. It's obviously not on par, but
so Turnwire in Twitch chat saying NFT market is very, very low return currently. It's just that investors try and tell people how big it can be, and that's what NFT and cryptocurrency feel like to me. It's a heap of people that have gone, let's create a new financial market that nobody understands but us, and try and convince people this is worth something, and it is not. It's not like a company where you've bought something physical. You just have this puff of air, really, that is, people say it's worth something until they say it's not, and then the market crashes and you lose everything.
I was looking a little bit into the lunar crash and what was happening there, and a lot of it came down to them poorly defining the terms initially on how the chain was going to work. And I just think it's still an emerging technology. It's still really unstable, and the whole point of this system was to free investing from the shackles of the previous systems, and people are just, building all of that rubbish into this system. So
I will give you that, because like after everything that went on with GameStop, like when all the Wall Street junkies were going, oh, anybody can do this, if you could just do this every day and make the money we make, and then people did it and they went, no, stop, you're doing it wrong. You go, well, just using the system you had.
Yeah. Oh, look, one day we're going to have to get an NFT expert on, especially one that's connected with esports, and they can tell us about how it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And we'll see if they can convince us.
Let's talk about something else, because I'm going to get stuck on this if we don't.
Straight is done.
No.
Straight is done.
No, I can talk about other things, but just like, I'm trying to find a way to dig myself out of talking about NFTs, but every time I think of it, I just get angry about NFTs all over again. So in other words,
let's move it on.
Esports.
Let it not consume any more of our being.
In other words, esports don't invest in NFTs. Go away. But yes, so actually, that was the last thing on my list was your report. The only other thing I can mention, HCS has started up again. So that's the Halo Championship Series, so which will finish with a major. I forget where it is, somewhere in the US. So get onto that. I think the Australian final is even going to happen at DreamHack, along with the LCO Split 2 final will be at DreamHack as well in Melbourne come September.
Man, it's going to be a busy year for you. Are you thinking of going to Melbourne for DreamHack as well?
I really am. I was looking at my finances, and I've just been thinking, like, first of the month I get a payment that comes in from an investment I've got, and it's just like, oh, I've got that money there now. And I went, bugger it, I've been talking about it for 3 seasons, so I'm going to get over and watch the ANZPL. I'm going to be excited. Going to see if I can wrangle a crisp high 5 out of J-rated. See how that goes.
Got to do it.
That's
it.
You're
going to love Fortress, by the way.
I'm really looking forward to it. Like, just the idea.
They've got like a giant ogre built into one of the walls. It's amazing.
I might even try, because we've been talking to a few people in our Discord. We might even try and see if we can get maybe a sort of lunchtime Saturday goer meetup. But I just put that out in the public to everybody now, and rather than just putting it in the Discord. But yeah, I'm keen to meet some of our Melbourne peeps as well. You never know.
Yep, definitely.
Is it? Well, yeah, that's about it from me. Natty, thank you so much for putting up with me again and my rant right at the end there.
Oh, no, I invited it, and thank you for being patient with my lack of wordage.
That's all right. I was like that at the beginning. I was they're going, what are words? I talk. Come on. I am so smart. SMRT. I mean, yeah. That's it. But anyway, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Everybody in Twitch chat. and for watching if you're watching this on YouTube as well. And we will see you next week.
Ciao.
Thank you so much for stopping by to watch this video. If you like what you're seeing, why not check out this video here? Or if you really like us, drop us a subscribe. And don't forget to like and comment as well. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.